Hey, folks, are you ready for 7 weeks of existential dread? Do you like getting your heart torn out of your body, thrown on the ground, and stomped a million times over? So do we. It's time for The Last of Us Season 2. Welcome back to Movies Good Internet Bad. I'm Corey. That's Shane. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you like movies and TV shows. And if you're lost in the darkness looking for the light, don't worry, baby girls. We got you. We're going to get you through this episode and make some sense out of all this. Shane, it's been a long 2 years since season one of The Last of Us,
Yes,
which was an outstanding first season of television. This one has, in my opinion, a much more difficult task ahead of it in
absolutely.
covering the second video game. Uh, what were your overall thoughts on this first episode without spoilers?
Yeah, so before I share my thoughts, I'll give everyone a little bit of context. So Corey and I have both played the game,
Yes.
but in these weekly reviews, we're going to keep it spoiler free for most of it for the game spoilers. We will tell you how things differ from the game slightly,
Hmm.
but we're not going to give you any spoilers for what happens in the future until the very end. And we will very clearly say, like, there are spoilers. So once you get to
Yeah.
that point, if you have not played the game, run away and then come back
Yes.
next week. But yes, so we'll be covering all the non spoiler parts first. But I thought this was a good little setup episode, and I was actually quite surprised at how different it was from the game. They
Yeah.
departed pretty drastically from how this game is introduced with the actual game. Um, I don't think it's bad though. I think these are all necessary changes. The immediate intro of the character of Abby was something that I said that they were going to do in the TV show,
Do
so I'll
it.
pat myself on
There
the
you go.
back.
I have a text from you that says literally the first scene of season two is going to be introducing Abby. So
Yeah, and so that's a pretty
nailed it.
big change. I won't go too much into depth with her character because they intentionally left some details out from the game that I feel like they will get to eventually. But this was an interesting pivot because in the game, Abby's backstory is not really introduced until well into the game.
Hmm.
So this was a pretty drastic departure, and you know, I think this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Without spoiling too much, I think this was a good decision. But the immediate tension of she's on the hunt
Right. Yep.
is introduced to the audience, so we know immediately that like she means business.
Yeah. There's some character motivation there, and it's not just a random new player for the sake of it being a new player. Right.
Yeah, but I thought all the performances were good. Bella was good, Pedro was good, but they were great in the first season. I think the standout here for me was Isabella Merced. She is
Yeah.
awesome as Dina.
Yes. Oh
Like
my
she
god.
is great. I
Yeah.
loved seeing her on screen. She was just so compelling and charismatic.
Yeah. I saw some tweets from folks that had gotten screeners that said I like show Dina more than game Dina, and I was
Yeah,
like,
I would
I
agree
don't
with
know,
that.
man. But
Yeah,
then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, she's really good. So
yeah, she's really fun. So enjoyed it. I
yeah.
mean, this is one of those where like it feels like not a lot happened, but it's setting the stage for a pretty dense season. I think.
Yeah, for sure. Catherine O'Hara too. Come on. I mean,
Yeah, Catherine
what
O'Hara is great. She's
what a
right in the
get.
studio too. Yeah, so it's cool
Yeah,
that
is she going to be up for both comedy and drama
I
Emmys this
I hope
year?
so. I hope
Maybe
so.
that'd be pretty cool. So, yeah, great table setting. There's a lot that happens in the game. Obviously, this season's not going to cover the entire game. Probably only about half of it, if we had to take a guess. But a lot of new players to set up, a lot of new motivations to set up, and I think this episode was actually very economical
Yeah,
in doing so. Craig
yeah,
Mazin wrote and directed. I
yep.
think he has a terrific pulse on this story, this universe, these characters. And I was extreme. Well, sad to be back, but happy to be back at the
Yes,
same time because
yes,
holy cow.
yeah,
So let's break it down.
yeah.
Spoilers
Let's do it.
from this point on for the show, not necessarily for the games.
Correct. We will be giving show spoilers, not game spoilers. Here. All right. So let's do it. So we start with the flashback of the ending of season one, which is Joel essentially lying to Ellie about what happened with the Fireflies, saying
Yes.
that they stopped doing experiments and they're not going to do the vaccine, so they ran off to Jackson by themselves. And Ellie takes that at face value, but at her core, does she believe it? Probably not,
No.
based on that look. But it's a very important scene and a very important dynamic that's in that final scene of season one and game one.
Yeah.
So I'm happy they kind of reintroduced that to really like set that
Yeah.
emotional
And
stage.
I watched the finale of season one right before watching the premiere of season two, and it's a little bit extended of a scene
Yeah.
than it is in the first season. In the first season, it hard cuts to credits the moment that Ellie says okay, and
Yep.
you don't get to kind of sit and marinate in it for a little bit. So it was actually a cool way to reintroduce things for the new season.
Yep. And then we get the introduction of Abby, who I mentioned a little bit earlier. But yeah, so we see all of the gravestones of all of the Fireflies that were killed in the hospital massacre from Joel. And Abby, especially, is very upset about this and very emotional about this. And essentially, they don't know what to do. They're abandoned and they have no leadership right now. They have no idea what to do. And Owen, who is the character next to her, we don't know his name in the show, but that is his name.
Yeah.
Owen is saying that, there's this guy in Seattle that can help us out, take us under his wing, named Isaac. He will come up. But then Abby says, like, we need to go find Joel. We need to kill Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And Owen essentially makes a barter with her that, yes, we'll go to Seattle, but I promise we will find this guy and kill him. And then she says slowly, and gives that little dramatic turn saying, like, we're going to kill him slowly. Yeah. And that's how you know that Abby is filled with rage and she means business.
Yeah. And the way they stage her in that scene, the way she's like, the four of them are over here and she's kind of over on her own. They're all kind of like, okay, everybody's dead, we need to move on. And she's like, no, there's business to attend to. Also, like, seeing my boy Danny Ramirez over there having a big
Top
year.
Gun Maverick,
and in the Top Gun Maverick a couple of years ago. He's in the MCU now. He's in Last of Us. My boy's having a little glow up there. It's pretty cool. So
let's continue. I love Caitlin Dever as well. Caitlin Dever is awesome. She was great in Booksmart. She's great in everything, really. And so I'm really excited to see her in this role. So then we cut back to Ellie, and Ellie is fighting somebody, and right away it's apparent that this is just a fake fight, right? But she is taking it a little bit too far at the end, and like is about to break his fingers before she's kind of like, she kind of snaps out of it. You see that she's like in this rage fit and then snaps out of it, which I found interesting, right? That we kind of saw this with David in season 1, where she gets into this rage and she can really, really get aggressive, and then she kind of snaps out and becomes like fun Ellie again, which well played from Bella Ramsey in that scene, and she's doing a great job. I brief tangent here, but the people,
let's pause the review.
I have never in my life seen a TV show where the lead actress gets nominated for an Emmy for lead actress in a drama, and then a bunch of people want her recast because she doesn't look exactly to the fine detail like the game character. It is so stupid. Bella is doing such a good job in this role. And all of the reviews for season 2 say she's even better in this season. So just let it play out, please.
Yep. Agreed.
Anyways, back to the breakdown. I had to get that off of my chest because I am seeing the worst takes imaginable online.
It's a real movie's good, internet bad moment.
Yes.
It's just like, guys, come on, man. Let the actor act, for Christ's
sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a cosplay competition. It's a show. Like, let them act. It doesn't have to be like the identical looking person. Like, Tommy doesn't look identical to the show, but nobody's talking about him. But he's great. Like, he's doing a good job.
Correct.
Come on. Anyways.
100%.
Yes. So then we get the reintroduction to Jackson with this nice little like wide panning shot. This was in the game, but in a different context. That scene was almost identical, from like the opening the doors and you're introduced to the town and the liveliness of it and how big it's gotten. But it was set in a different context in this scene. But yeah, so then we cut to Joel, who's apparently in charge of all of the construction in this town. I don't think that was from the game. But
it's not from the game, but Joel's background is in construction from before the apocalypse. So he should be doing it. Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. And then we get introduced to Dina, who is played by Isabella Merced, and she is awesome in this scene. Just like so peppy and lively. And I love how she's like asking about the circuit breaker, but really she wants to ask about what's up with him and Ellie.
Yeah,
she's only there for the drama.
Yep.
So and this is a good introduction to Joel and Ellie not being on the same terms, like not being on good terms right now. And we got a little brief intro of that in the fighting scene too, where she's like, "Who told you to pull punches?" Right? And I think he said Joel told him to. So so like she's tired of being like overprotected, overbearing from her father figure in this case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get introduced to both. That was a nice little economical way of introducing Dina to the
Hmm.
story,
Oh yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's introduced differently in the game. So then we cut to Tommy teaching Ellie how to snipe,
Hmm.
and that's right out of the game.
Exactly out of the game.
Headshotting the zombies from
Yeah.
far away,
With the
exactly from the
billboard and
game.
everything. That's
Yeah,
like it's literally exactly how it looks in the game. It's so
yes,
cool.
yes. So we get introduced to that more of that dynamic where you know she wants to be out on patrol, but Joel says that no, she doesn't need to be out on patrol. She needs to be on gate duty. And I love that Tommy mentions this like you and my brother are the same person. And she's like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's why you won't win.
Yep.
And I think that's a nice little dynamic too, because how many like parental kid relationships have you seen where like the people that are most alike are the ones that bicker at each other the most
The
because
most.
they see each other's faults
Yep.
in themselves, and that's kind of what we're getting here, and so I like that dynamic.
That's why we get along so well because we're nothing alike.
Yeah, I think so. So then we're introduced to Tommy's wife Maria. I think she was in season 1, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
But now they have a child, and that was not in
Yes.
season 1, right? Yeah, so
No. No. She
they
was
have a child.
pregnant very
Got it.
early in her pregnancy in season 1, and now they have the kid Benji. I
Got
think I
it.
said in season 1.
But yeah, she is. There's a nice little exchange here where they equate this town to kind of like an immigration refugee
Hmm.
type of message, where Joel's opinion on the matter is that we should tend to our own first before we tend to everyone else, which is a very Joel thing to say based on what he just did, right?
Uh-huh.
Like 5 years
Yep.
ago, is he's protecting Ellie. He doesn't care about anything else.
Yep.
But in this case, he cares about Jackson, not anything else. But Maria is giving him a different perspective on that, saying, you know, you were a refugee at one point.
Hmm.
We took you in, so we should try and do the same for other people.
Yep.
So then we get to the therapy scene, and Catherine O'Hara just steals this scene so well.
Yeah.
But she mentions that her husband has died, so she is drinking whiskey during the therapy session.
Hmm.
And then she lets on this opinion that Joel is lying. And in order to move forward, you have to say things that you didn't think you should say. And she starts, right? It's
Hmm.
like a show and tell. She starts by saying that she's pissed off because Joel killed her husband, Eugene,
Yeah.
even though Joel had no choice. And this is a gigantic departure from the video game.
Hmm.
Eugene is in the game. You don't see him. You see little like pictures of him and notes and stuff. But in the game, he's like very old and dies of a stroke. And
Yeah.
it's like, one of the few people in this post-apocalyptic world to die of natural causes and not some like violence or infection, right? Just
Yeah.
dying of a normal death. This is a change in the show, and from what I've heard, Eugene has a flashback kind of
Oh,
episode
really?
or
Okay. Cool.
sequence. Yeah,
Nice.
they've casted a character as Eugene, so
Okay.
my thought is this is going to be very similar to the Bill and Frank episode
Sure. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
season 1. They're going to have a Eugene episode where it's his
Okay.
whole backstory with Catherine O'Hara, why Joel ends up killing him, etc.
Man, in a 7 episode season, I wonder.
Yeah, that's a risk.
It's going to have to be important for them
Yes,
to do something like that.
that is
But
absolutely a risk. I do wonder a little bit if they took all of the good feedback from the Bill and Frank episode and said, "Oh, we want to do that again,"
yeah,
kind of thing.
sure. Yeah.
So maybe it's a heat check a little bit. So
Yeah.
we'll see what
Could be.
happens. Because I love that episode in season 1, but can
It's
they
very good.
replicate it?
Yeah.
But we'll see. But yeah, so then Joel lets the secret out, not fully, but in this case, like we see a great performance from Pedro Pascal here, where he says, you know, no, I saved her. Like,
Saved
and he's
her.
still not
Tear
quite.
rolling down the eye.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
still not quite owning up to what he did. He
Right.
is justifying it internally, intensely, and
Very
I
intensely.
wonder how that will develop over time. So then Dina comes to pick Ellie up for a like a scouting run, and we're introduced to Shimmer, who is the horse
Mhm.
straight from the game,
Yep.
also called Shimmer. So I think like all the video game people, when Shimmer showed up, is like a point at the screen.
Yeah, the
Yay!
Leo thing.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a lot of that in this episode.
Yes, there
I was
was.
like,
There
oh,
was.
from the game, from the game, from the game, from the game.
Yes, yes. And then we get to this little market run where there's the dead bear. I think it was a moose in the game. Maybe there was also a bear, but there's like a moose, I think,
Yeah.
giant moose in the game that's killed by infected. and they start investigating the market. They kill a couple of clickers. We get a bottle throw, which I don't think we
Yeah,
got in the first season.
dude, I
And
loved
for
it.
those who have who have not played the
Loved it.
game, one of the like techniques as to how you kill clickers in the game is you throw bottles to make noise and then
Yeah.
you sneak up on them, which is
Yep.
exactly what they did in this sequence, and that is a direct nod to the game. So I love that. And I love this little dynamic between Dina and Ellie here, where they're like doing the like sign language and like the knife, and it was just
Yeah.
fun, right? Like kids having
They're,
fun.
they're they're trying to be actual kids in a world where it's hard to be kids because of how
Yeah, and
serious
it's
everything
like
is.
the rebellion and like feeling invincible too, because they put the guns away and they're like, no,
Right.
knives only.
Yeah,
We're
we'll
gonna
use
make
our
this
knives.
hard on
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah. So then Ellie falls through the floor again, directly out of the game,
Hmm.
and then she fights a new form of infected, which in the game they're called stalkers. In this though, they change it slightly. Like in the game, they're like the quiet, fast infected is these stalkers, and they have the little antler things.
Hmm.
So like they look different. There's plenty of times in the game where they'll jump scare you with these
Yeah.
stalker type of infected. Um, but in this, it seems like they've grown a little bit intelligent, which is, I think, different from the game's
Yeah. Yeah.
opinion on
So
it.
in the behind the scenes after the episode, Neil Druckmann is talking about it, and he said, "Look, this thing has to evolve, or else we're just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah,
So let's pose a new threat where the clickers are getting smarter and they're starting to learn how humans behave, and then modifying their behaviors to try to kill them in a more evil way, I guess. But I loved the last reveal of it, where it came out of the box all creepy, and
yeah,
you finally see its face, and the
yep,
cordyceps come out of the little Voldemort no nose
yep,
thing that it had going on. Awesome. Just
yeah,
the the design on the characters, the production design in that grocery store. I mean, to spend all the money to make it look that similar to how it looks in the game
yeah.
is, they just, it has a very cinematic feel to it. And it's one of those things that kind of feels like only HBO can pull off.
Yeah, there's plenty of budget on the screen,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
even if it's like not noticeable. I'm pretty sure that truck and everything was like pure CGI. That probably was not there at all. But it's hard to know, right? It's seamless, and that's
Mhm.
a good testament to how well they're doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this felt like a very like feedback taken type of scene where they're like, hey everyone, you said there weren't enough infected in the first season, so we're going to give you a lot of infected.
Yeah.
So a little bit more horror.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And a lot of it shot very much like a horror movie, with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the
The
the stalker
stalker running
going behind
across.
the out of
Hmm.
focus in the background, running across the rafters in the top and everything. It's
Yep.
good.
But Ellie gets bit on the stomach,
Yeah.
and in the game spoilers, I will elaborate on what I think that will mean. Um, but uh, but yeah, so we then cut to the party episode, or the party scene, where everyone's preparing for the party. Although before the party, Ellie has to cut that bite to make it look, I guess, not like a bite.
Yeah.
I think that's what she's doing, at least.
Yep.
But it shows that she is a little bit intense, right? A little bit more intensity there. She's a scarred individual in more
Yeah.
ways than one,
Also
emotionally
interesting,
and physically.
that shape and location is exactly where Joel got stabbed in season one, when
I
Ellie had
didn't.
to stitch him up, which
Mm,
makes the two of them even more similar
I did
in a
not make
physical
that
manner.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I just rewatched it like 2 days ago, so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fresh in my brain. So
That's
yeah,
a good one. I like that
yeah,
too. But yeah, so then Joel comes by asking if she's going to the thing, and like it's the like nervous father archetype, right? Where he's like, "No, I just I want to fix your guitar," that sort of
hmm,
thing, and runs away. But then they get to the party. Ellie is watching Dina, who is like drunk and high, dancing with everyone. She mentions to Jesse like, "Oh, you guys are going to get back together," et cetera, et cetera. And then they start dancing, and then they kiss. And
they
Seth
do.
is not happy about it. He says, "Oh, this isn't a church; it's a family establishment." And then he shouts a slur at them, which causes Joel to push him over.
Yep.
And this enrages Ellie, right? Because it's another instance of like, you are just overprotecting me. I can
Yep.
fend for myself. Uh, and it's a common theme throughout this episode is
Yes.
Joel is being overbearing. But that's like what he is like. ugh, it's tough because like for him, it's like, no, 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 I want to protect her so badly because I care so much about her, but like
Mhm.
it's the exact wrong thing to do in that moment.
100%. Yep.
Uh, but what I found interesting about this whole sequence, and oh, sorry, we end on the reveal that the pipes have the cordyceps in it, so
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
a looming threat, and Abby and Co find the town.
Yes, little
So
nighttime
looming
scene.
threats.
They're still a little bit far away from Jackson. Close up on Abby. Cut to credits.
Yep. What I found interesting about this episode was that it is almost all a prequel
Yeah.
to how the game starts. The game starts with the flashback of the hospital scene, and then we cut to the aftermath,
Hmm.
where Ellie is waking up from after the New Year's party. So I found that interesting that like they use this as a setup, kind of leading into the events of game two. They also moved some things around.
Hmm.
The patrol sequence with Dina and Ellie is different in the game.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
after the
yeah,
party in the game. Yeah.
yeah, and there's no. I don't think this is a spoiler, but there's no indication that the infected got into the walls in the game. Like
Yeah.
that all happens outside of the walls of Jackson. Whereas
Yeah.
this one, it feels like they're going to bring the fight to Jackson.
Hmm.
All of that's going to happen within the city walls. So maybe this is more of like a big action sequence that's coming up in the
I
next
have
episode.
heard through the interwebs that there are some pretty massive action set pieces, and
And yeah,
obviously that's going to have to be a deviation from the game because the game is actually, for as big and sprawling as it is, it's very intimate and
yeah,
it's very small to a degree.
yep,
But I think, again, like you mentioned before, based off feedback from the prior season, I think some fans want a little bit more, and I think they're going to get what they wanted.
yeah. So overall, I thought good table setting episode. Not too much more to say about it than I already have, but again, lots of game references. But they did change quite a bit, so I'm excited to see how those changes continue.
Yeah. Um, any thoughts? And now, spoiler band-aid has been ripped off. We're ripping
Yes,
off the spoiler band-aid.
game spoilers are coming. If you've not played the game, please turn the episode off right now.
And
And here we go.
where do you think we're going in this season based off of your knowledge of the game?
Yeah, so I think the big changes that are going to happen, I think the Abby scene is going to happen inside Jackson rather
Oh,
than
you think
outside.
so? Okay, all right.
Maybe because I can't think of any way that Joel would go outside Jackson. Because in the game, what happens is that he's already out there and he runs into Abby, but the
Right.
horde is out there, right? Like the horde is inside in the TV show. So I would think that Ellie would have to come inside, and maybe they use the fight as like a distraction to get in.
Yeah, maybe.
So I don't know how that's going to work, but it doesn't seem like it's the same thing where there's the villa. Although maybe there is a villa at some point.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
I feel like the creative folks on this, and obviously the creator of the game being one of them, certainly helps. But him and Craig working together, I think they have a pretty good idea as to how to take something that, I mean, the game takes 30 plus hours to play, and they have 7 hours to cover half of it
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
You've got to be economical. They're going
yep,
to write some ways in and out of different storylines, and
yep,
um, I was actually really surprised by the amount of stuff that they added here, because typically when you're doing something like this, whether it's a long video game or a book that has 1,000 pages or something, you're usually just slashing stuff to get
yeah,
rid of it. And
yeah.
here they actually added a lot that I think will provide some really important context for where things are going to go when the shit hits the fan later in the season.
Yeah, and originally I thought that the event that if you played the game, you know what I'm referring to, but maybe
Or
some stragglers are still here. Yes, but I thought the event would happen in episode 2 because Mark Mylod was directing it, but now I think Mark Mylod is directing it because it's a huge action piece. Maybe
oh
it could
yeah,
still happen in episode 2, but maybe they
right,
push it to like episode 3 or maybe the very end of episode 2.
yeah.
But
Well,
yes,
things are
we'll
going to
make
happen.
a lot of golf puns when that happens. It's going to be all
Oh
golf puns on this
God,
channel. And
I'm not.
Corey,
I'm not
I'd just
ready.
like to say that they missed it by a week. The Masters were today. The finals were today. You could have had a golf themed major plot event on
You could have.
Masters Sunday and you
You could
didn't
have.
do it. What is wrong with you? It was right
Well,
there. All was there for the taking.
You see, the White Lotus just had to go 8 episodes this
I
season.
know, I know. How'd you cut one episode?
Take that, Mike White.
Yeah.
Go back to Survivor, Mike White. Anyway, wow. I'm happy this show's back. I'm
Yeah.
ecstatic. It's going to be a really fun, 6 more weeks, I guess, of pain and suffering, which is straight up my alley. So
Yeah, the game is just so bleak. I love the game so much.
yeah,
It's one of the best video games ever created, and I
I,
know that there's a lot of controversy, and I don't feel that way at all. I think the second game is a masterpiece.
the game is so bleak that I started it in 2020 and I didn't finish it until 2024.
Yep. Yep.
It is an intense experience. There's a lot of sadness and pain and suffering, and
It just doesn't end. It's like
no,
the
it just
suffering
keeps going.
continues. It's snowball of suffering.
Yeah, until
The whole
morale
game.
improves, and morale just doesn't ever improve. So,
Yeah.
any other thoughts on this episode before we take this one home?
I don't think so. We'll have a lot of thoughts as we go throughout this season. I am ecstatic to see the internet's reaction
Oh
to
God, I
the
can't wait.
event when that
It,
happens.
it is going to provide us so much material
I
for
can
so many jokes.
I can only imagine this is what book readers felt like during the Red Wedding episode of Game of Thrones. It's
Oh, it's
like
got to be.
you
Yeah.
fuckers have no idea what's about to
Yeah.
happen.
Yep. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the insight. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and drop us a comment below. Let us know what you thought about this episode. Try to keep the game spoilers as light as you can in the comments. We don't want to ruin some of the upcoming events for people who haven't played the game. But definitely share your thoughts on the episode and where you think things are going. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you liked it. I'm seeing Sinners this week, Ryan Coogler's new movie. I think I'm going to do a review of that once that's done. Shane is coming out to the East Coast to enjoy the new Universal theme park, which I'll also be seeing. So I think we're going to do a video on that too, because there's
Why not, right?
there's a lot of movie shit in that theme park. So that's coming, and then Andor is in 8 days. So we buckle up. We have a lot of content on its way. So stay tuned for all of that and so much more. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.